There we go. Now we're good. I'll go ahead and continue. Okay. And then this last strategy is called Partners in Excellence. And that's the strategy that encompasses our work with all of you. So that's nonprofit capacity building, which includes our grant making and other nonprofit support resources. The nonprofit talent pathway represents an initiative that we'll actually launch later this year to offer training for new nonprofit board members. So more to come on that later this year. And then finally, recovery and resilience captures our work on Heart for Hancock during COVID and ongoing. So in line with our branding, you may see some of these new icons popping up. These represent some of our different programs that we have. As I said, Partners in Excellence is the name of our larger strategy in our work with nonprofits. Then Level Up is a grants-based capacity building program. We work with nonprofits to identify an area of their organization where they can grow their capacity. So maybe that's strategic planning, it could be board development, donor relations, financial management, anything that would really help a nonprofit kind of take that next step in their capacity. And then once whatever that topic is identified, then we provide a grant to hire a consultant to work with the organization on growing in that area. So if your organization has something coming up that could fit with Level Up, please reach out to me. I'd love to talk with you about that. The Excellence Academy provides an in-depth curriculum and learning community for nonprofits. So we just graduated our first cohort of the Excellence Academy last spring, which was really awesome. So through that program, we had 5 nonprofits that came together quarterly. And we learned together about leadership, board engagement, resource development, and nonprofit management. And we'll be launching the next cohort in 2024, and we're still planning out the details around that. But if you think that's something that your organization might be interested in, would also love to chat with you about that. And then finally, Hello Hancock is a community calendar and volunteer matching portal. And we have been working with a local software developer called Betterfly to kind of relaunch this in Hancock County. But we've taken some time to make this resource more user-friendly. And we are going to be pushing it hard in 2023. So please be on the lookout for more information there. And we'll actually be hosting a workshop for nonprofits on February 8th for that. Then lunch will be provided. So that'll be exciting. All right, Carol, anything in the chat box so far?
No, just someone wanted to know if the slides will be sent out, and I said that we could do that.
Yes. Yes, we will. Thank you. Great. Welcome to those who are just now joining us. You're just in time. I'm getting ready to jump in. You missed my preamble, but I'm getting ready to jump into the grants, which is why you're all here. So on the screen is now an overview of the 2023 grant cycles that I'm going to talk about today. The annual grant cycle is back, kind of in its more normal form, and it's going to offer program and project and capital improvement funding. But new this year is this process is going to start out with a letter of intent or LOI. So I'm going to talk more about that here in just a moment. Then many grants will continue to be available this year, and the minimum request amount has increased to $1,500 for this year. It was previously $1,000, now it's going to be $1,500. Then education foundations have a separate grant cycle and application process, and that information has been emailed out if that is relevant to you. And same with animal welfare organizations. In case you didn't know, the Community Foundation stewards 3 pretty sizable donor established funds that are specific to the care of domestic animals. So that is why we run a separate grant cycle for that. Then Ignite grants are about placemaking efforts, community development, and quality of life. And this grant cycle is open to celebrating communities partners, and those are mostly our municipalities and other civic organizations like Main Streets. So if your organization is eligible for these grants, we'll be sending out information later this year. Then the White Family Foundation grant cycle will open this spring, and they have allotted $25,000 for 2023 grant making. And then I'll talk a little bit about youth philanthropy as well. starting off with the annual grant cycle, this is our timeline for 2023. So I know as many of you seen in our nonprofit news email, the letter of intent or LOI period is open now. And that will close on January 27th at noon. And then we are looking if your organization does submit an LOI and is invited to apply, that application period will run from February 27th to April 7th. All applicants will go through either a site visit or an interview with members of our grants committee. Then we are looking at May 17th for grantee check pickup and to take our nice photo together. So that is just to give you a general idea of what that time frame is going to look like for the annual grant cycle. As I mentioned, there are two types of eligible requests in the annual grant cycle this year. First is for programming support, and we define that as a grant to support or expand an existing charitable program or project, or to create and launch a new charitable program or project. And the maximum request our grants committee is going to entertain this year is $10,000, and the minimum is $1,500. And that minimum really helps us kind of distinguish these grants from the mini grants to remove confusion about what is appropriate for each grant cycle. Then the second type of eligible request is capital improvement. And our committee will entertain requests for capital purchases with an expected useful life of 12 months or more. So we think of these as building repairs or additions or any kind of structural enhancement on your property. This could be the purchase of new equipment, purchase of technology, either hardware or software. It wouldn't fund a whole vehicle, but it could fund part of a vehicle, furniture, those kinds of things. And they have the same minimum and maximum request limits there. Okay, so as I mentioned, the first step in the process is a letter of intent. And we are instituting this because we have been receiving a pretty significant number of applications the past several years, and we want to just make sure we're making the best use of everyone's time. So if a request isn't going to be a good fit for funding, we'd rather an applicant know that after completing a shorter LOI rather than a more comprehensive application. And we're also mindful of our volunteer grants committee members' time as well with their commitment. So submission of an LOI does not guarantee your organization will be invited to submit a full application, but that is the first step in order to be considered. So as I said, the LOI is going to be shorter than a full application. And these are the question areas that will be addressed in the LOI. It will be structured with some questions. It's not just a blank letter. So it's going to start by asking for an organization overview. So this would be your mission, number of residents that your organization serves, and how your organization makes Hancock County a better place. The next is going to ask you to give your proposal a title in 10 words or less. And we just ask that you choose something that makes it as clear as possible what the request is going to be. Then, since this is the LOI stage, and we aren't asking for a line-by-line budget yet, we are looking for your anticipated request amount. And there are going to be two options in the LOI form for reporting this. So if you do know the exact amount that you're going to be requesting, you already know what it's going to cost to do it exactly. There's going to be a text box where you can enter that on the application. However, if you don't know the exact amount, there's going to be the option to select a funding range. And you would just need to complete one of those options, but not both, depending on what you know at this stage. Then the next is the concept summary, which is really the meat of the LOI. And this is where you'll tell us what you would do with the funds that you're requesting. So what would be accomplished? How does that align with your organization's mission? How would Hancock County benefit? And how would this meet a community need? And then the next question will ask you to describe how the expertise and capacity of your staff and or volunteers position your organization to carry out your mission, relevant programs, and this grant request. And then finally, there is an optional text box at the end for additional information. So this is just if you have any more information you'd like to share at this stage that maybe didn't fit into any of the other question fields. So along with that, I wanted to give you some insight kind of into the decision-making process. So I've got on the screen the questions that our grants committee is going to be considering when they review the LOIs. So they're going to be thinking about, do I think this proposal has the potential to make a positive impact in the community? Does the idea seem feasible and logical? Does the idea make sense? And does this proposal or organization bring up any red flags for me? So then after the committee reviews the LOIs, it will be determined which organizations will be invited to submit a full application. And so I did want to go ahead and review kind of high level what the application will entail. And many of you have completed applications with us before, so nothing should be surprising here. If your organization is invited to submit an application, there are some things you'll be asked, and I will talk about those here in just a second. So for the application, it's going to ask basically for you to expand upon your concept summary and to give some more details of the proposal. It'll ask for your goals and objectives, so what you're hoping to accomplish with this proposal. It will ask for a detailed project budget to kind of justify the amount that you are requesting. It'll ask everybody's favorite question about sustainability, just to see if that kind of thought through, you know, if this is especially if this is something new, how it'll be, how you'll keep that going in the future. And then I'm going to talk more about the attachments here a little bit later because they're similar to some of our other grant programs. And then again, just to give you some insight, here are some of the questions our grants committee will be considering when evaluating the applications. The three main themes they're going to be thinking about is impact, capacity, and feasibility. And as Carol said, we're going to send this PowerPoint out after the workshop, so you can refer to it more later. I'm not going to read through all of these at the moment. I'm going to pause for just a second. Carol, any questions coming in the chat?
Nope, we're good.
Anybody need to come off mute and ask a question? Okie doke. Keep plugging along. Next up is White Family Foundation grants, and the focus of these is to assist local community development and support initiatives that enhance the desire to live, work, and play in Shirley, Indiana, and nearby surrounding communities. So all of our other grants require that an applicant must be a charitable organization serving Hancock County. For the white process, the organization does not need to necessarily serve Hancock County, but it needs to serve somewhere in their areas of interest. So those applicants, as I said, they really have a focus on Shirley and those surrounding areas, and they include, but it's not limited to, Wilkinson, Knightstown, Charlottesville, Kennard, Carthage, Willow Branch, Greensboro, and Grant City. And the types of projects that they look for include beautification projects, building facade improvements, recreational enhancements, and accessibility, public safety, and transportation. And $25,000 is the total that they will grant out this year. And they do not put a minimum or maximum request amount for their grants. I can tell you their grant amounts last year ranged from, on the high end, $5,000 to the low end at $1,100, just to kind of give you an idea of their typical range. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so here is the timeline for the White Family grants. So this application is going to open on March 6th and close on May 8th at noon. And I know most of you are familiar with this. We use an online system, which Carol's going to walk through a little bit later. But when we say a deadline is at noon, that means 12:01 is too late. That online application shuts down. And so applications will not be accepted after that deadline. Then the White family typically meets with applicants to discuss your proposal. And it looks like they'll probably be doing that in the May, June-ish timeframe. And we expect to be notifying recipients around the middle of July. Okay, any questions about the White? Nothing. Cool. All right, so mini grants. Main change with mini grants this year is that the maximum request amount is going up to $1,500. It's just inflation, just time to increase that amount. So that's now $1,500. And for mini grants, these requests are for immediate needs or emergencies. Primarily, those are the types of requests that will be given priority. But requests should be for a one-time expense. So these grants are not meant to really sustain a project or a program from year to year. These grants are also not designed to support events, especially sponsored fundraising events. But if you do have a one-time event that's providing a charitable service of some kind, we can discuss that. But fundraising events are not what these funds are for. Then the applicant must be the organization that will benefit from the proposed use of these funds. So the last few years, we've had some Boy Scout troops and leadership Hancock County groups contacting us about funding for their projects that they're doing for a nonprofit, and that's fine if that's happening for your organization. It's just that your nonprofit needs to be the applicant for those funds, not the Boy Scouts or leadership Hancock County. So just keep that in mind. Then in the past, we've had a rule that organizations can only receive one mini grant per year, even if the amount received was less than the maximum amount allowed. So we're going to tweak that this year to make it the maximum amount an organization can receive. So if you receive a $500 mini grant in March and then have another need come up for $1,000 in October, you can apply again. So it's just as long as you're at or under that $1,500 threshold. And then the time frame for mini grants, these are administered on what we call a rolling cycle each calendar year. This cycle opens January 1st, essentially, and then applications are accepted and evaluated on a first come, first served basis until the funds available for the calendar year are gone. So at any point during the year, if you have a need arise that you think would be a fit for a mini grant, please give me a call or send me an email and let me know what you're thinking. And then if it fits, I would provide you the link to the application. We don't make this one public because I just really want to have some kind of I want to touch base with the nonprofit that's looking to apply just to make sure it's a good fit. Okay, and one other opportunity I want to talk about briefly is the Martha Beckenholt Youth Philanthropy Award. So this one is not an application that you would fill out. It's actually one that a student completes. So this award recognizes a Hancock County high school junior who has contributed outstanding time, talent, and energy to philanthropic endeavors. So the applicants are Hancock County high school juniors. They submit an application that must include a recommendation letter either from a high school staff member or a nonprofit organization leader located in Hancock County. Then the award recipient will get to select a Hancock County nonprofit to receive a $1,000 grant in his or her name. And I've included some information in the past couple of nonprofit news emails about this. So if you have a volunteer who is a junior in high school, you can feel free to share that application with them and even provide a letter of recommendation if you like. And then they may receive the honor and then you may receive $1,000. So if it helps to motivate one of your volunteers to apply, I can share that a handful of these recipients over the years have then gone on to receive the Lilly Endowment Scholarship as a senior, which is a full tuition scholarship to any school in the state, which is also an incredible honor. And I think our staff actually gets to review these applications is probably one of my favorite things that I get to do every year. It gives you so much hope for the future and what all our youngsters are doing. So
I put a little plug in for that one. Claire Bishop, who was named the Indiana State Fair Queen yesterday, which is huge for Hancock County, is also a Lilly Scholar this year. And she was a Beck and Holt Youth Philanthropy Award winner 2 years ago.
yeah, so a lot of good stuff from this award. It's a precursor to a lot of good things, I think we could say. So just keep in mind that the application deadline for those students to fill this out is February 17th at 4 p.m. Okay. So most of you are pros at this, but I just wanted to touch base on application documents and what it is that we're looking for, just to provide clarity there. So both the annual grant cycle and the White Family Foundation grant cycle ask for all of these items, I believe. Mini grants just ask for a board list and an organization budget in addition to a project budget. But I just want to review what we're looking for in each of these documents, because I have the benefit of a colleague who's a CPA and many of you don't. So we want to make this as least complicated that we can, but still get what we need to do our due diligence properly. So a board of directors list is pretty straightforward. We just need to make sure you have a board with real people on it. So we ask for at least an email and a mailing address. We ask for a list of grants that you've applied for, pretty much for the last, well, it depends on what time of the year you're applying, but since January 1st of 2022. So this helps us better understand where we might fit into your revenue generating strategy. Also pretty simple, kind of the setup of that. We really just want to see what grant maker you requested the funds from, the purpose of the request, the amount, and then whether you received it, whether that's in part or in full, or you didn't receive it, or maybe it's still pending. And this is just grants. This is not getting to your individual donations or contributions or anything like that. And next, I'm going to kind of walk through in more detail the so fun financial documents, but one note I wanted to make before that is that we do not ask that you enter any of this data manually into a form on the application or to necessarily use a template that we created. We just ask that you upload what you hopefully are already keeping for your own records. We just need to be able to understand what you're uploading. So there are certain formatting standards for financial documents, but as far as whether you submit a Word document, an Excel spreadsheet, or a PDF, we're not picky on that. Like I said, we just need to be able to see it with no smudges or anything, and just something that we can understand. And another note, if you are having any difficulty uploading a document to our application, please do not spend an hour fiddling with it. Contact me or Carol, and we'll help, or we'll find a solution. Because with our software provider, we are limited on the amount of space we can offer on document uploads, and sometimes that can create a problem with bigger files. So if you are running into that, please don't spend a ton of time wrestling with it. Don't waste that time. Let me or Carol know so we can help. We just ask that maybe don't wait right up until the deadline if you're going to ask us to do that, but we're happy to help there. Okay, Carol, I think I'm getting close. I need a few more minutes and then I'm going to throw it over your way. Financial documents, we'll start with the balance sheet. This is also called a statement of financial position in the nonprofit world. And this just really gives us a snapshot in time of the financial balances of your nonprofit. So assets are the resources you have at your disposal, and then liabilities are your debt obligations. And then as the name suggests, it's got it all balanced. So we would like to see this for December 31st of 2022 for all applicants. But if you submit a sheet that's more recent than that, that's fine. That's just kind of the latest we would want to see for grants in 2023. And then if you haven't, if you don't keep one of these current for your nonprofit, we do have templates on our website that I think Carol may show, or maybe our website's going to be changing, so we may need to touch base on that later. But you are welcome to use those templates if you want to. You don't have Income statement is the next one, also called a profit and loss or a P&L. And this shows income and expenses during a specific time period. So while the balance sheet shows your financial balances on a specific date, the income statement shows your financial activity over a period of time. So for our purposes, we'd like to see this report for the 12 months of 2022. Then at the bottom, the net income field will show the difference between your expenses and income. For nonprofits, that number will probably be very low, but probably ideally won't be in the negative. However, there could be a legitimate reason for it to be negative. So I just kind of a disclaimer, if there's something funky or that you're worried about, it looks funky on your financials, please feel free to include a note somewhere with the numbers explaining that. There's any number of things that could make financials look a little funny. So we try to keep text fields or areas in the application where you can include more information if there's something like that. So just please keep that in mind. And then the last financial attachment we asked for is a 2023 budget. So we are looking for projected revenue and expenses for 2023 that your board approved. So if you keep one that's a running total with your actual year-to-date column, please include that. But it's not mandatory that you include actual spending by line item. We really just want to see those projected revenue and expenses. Okay, any questions on that? Anything, Carol, in the chat?
Nope.
Boy. All right. Okay. So moving on to if the organization does receive a grant from the Community Foundation, I just wanted to go over the general process for getting those funds. The first thing you will do is we'll send out an email congratulating you and asking you to electronically sign a grant agreement that outlines the conditions of the grant. I think our default deadline for returning a grant agreement is within 60 days of notification, but it's helpful to us if you can return it as soon as possible. Even within a few days is great. And that just means we can cut the check faster. So certainly appreciate that. Then depending on the grant, we may ask to take a grant presentation photo that, we'll send to the newspaper, put on Facebook and all that good stuff, and then you can use as well. And then from the majority of our grants, the funds must be spent within 12 months from the date of award. And that is something that will be lined out in the grant agreement. We do entertain requests for grant extensions, but it's not our practice to do that often. So these should be for extenuating circumstances that maybe delayed the timing of the grant for you. So if it is becoming clear that you are going to need a grant extension, I ask that you please reach out to me no later than 30 days prior to the end of the grant period, if possible. The earlier the better, and we can discuss that. Otherwise, unused funds must be returned to the Community Foundation. But we don't want that. We want to help you make the grant project successful. So we just ask you please keep the lines of communication open with us if you're hitting an obstacle. We want to help you make it work as best that we can on our end. So only other note there is that if we talk on the phone about your grant, just for our documents, I need the request in writing that is signed by the highest ranking employee or volunteer of the organization. An email is completely fine for that. Okay, then last but a very important step in the grant making process is the grant report. And this is really just where we can see how things went for you. We'd love to see photos and impact stories if possible. I know confidentiality is a big part of each of your work, so that's not always possible, but in the instances that it is, we love to see those. But on the flip side of that, if this grant was a learning experience and maybe didn't go quite the way you'd imagine, we want to know that as well and what your takeaways were. So for the annual grant cycle, grant reports are going to be due July 31st, 2024. Wow, that seems forever away, but it'll be here in the blink of an eye. And then for the White Family Foundation grants, those grant reports are going to be due December 31st of 2024. And again, if you expend the grants, your grant money within 3 months of receiving an award, you don't have to wait until the deadline. You could submit that grant report in as And then if you do receive a mini grant, since those are on a rolling cycle, the due date of the grant report will vary depending on what time of year you receive that. And then just as a reminder, all of these components, everything from the application to the agreement to the grant report, all run through our online system. So the nice thing about that is it's all in one place and that you can access your grant history with us at any time. Okay, that was my last slide. So I'll ask one more time. Or any questions before I hand it over to Carol? Wow, all right. So I'm either super clear or I put you all to sleep. I'm not sure which, but I'll go with I'll go with either. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Carol, it's all you.
Okay, hang on just 1 second here. Moving things around. Okay. All right. Can everybody see that? Katie, can you see it okay?
Yes, I can.
All right. As Katie said, we are in the middle of switching over our website. So you can go ahead and use our new URL. And if you want to, update your records with this, it's fine. It will redirect at the moment. Eventually, it'll end up on our new site. But celebratehancock.org is the new URL, which is right up here. But as you see, as soon as I hit enter, it's going to redirect it to our current site, the Give HC Grow HC. And we'll be sure to communicate with you when the new site is up and running. It is, it's coming along. It looks good, but it's not quite ready for live yet. And as Katie said, not 100% sure where everything's going to live in the area of nonprofits once that goes live, but at the moment, you can find all these things here under our nonprofits tab. These little tabs here will take you to the different areas. Our grant portal is always accessed here. Once you click on that, I suggest you bookmark it then, so you don't have to go back through all of this. But it will take you straight to our grant portal. There's always information about the current grants that are available. That are on this tab as well. This is just information about the Partners in Excellence program, the Level Up program, the Excellence Academy. This is some pretty helpful information about grants. If you are totally new to the world of grant writing or grant writing for us, this is the place to go. And just a little disclaimer here, you'll see some language that's still HCCF and some that's Community Foundation. We're not going through and changing every word on this website until we get the new one up and running. So you have to bear with us a little bit. There's information about reporting here. And again, a link to our grant portal. These are just some information about past grants that have been awarded. This one is the one, though, I really wanted to draw your attention to, our nonprofit resources tab. It is, at the moment, a restricted page. So you'll need the password for that. And the password is Hancock County without any space in between, but the H and the C are capitalized. And that will bring up all of our nonprofit network, our nonprofit resources, including a directory of nonprofits and service organizations. Some of this is a little dated, but I guess this is still accurate. This is our boardroom space that is currently available. There's a link to Hello Hancock, but this is really what I wanted to show you. Down here under additional resources, we talked a little bit about having samples or templates for balance sheets and income statements, etc. All of those things are available down here. There's also examples. There's some succession plan examples. There's all kinds of great resources on here, some of which we have been from past nonprofit networking lunch and learns, and some of them are just things that we have accumulated. So recommend that to you. But let me go back to our main nonprofit tab, and I'm going to click where it says online grant portal. It's going to take us to this site, and this is the one that I recommend that you bookmark. This is our grant portal. So all things grants that you will be doing with the Community Foundation are going to go through this portal. Your email address is your login, but I would like to point a few things out to you that are mentioned here. There's a tutorial here that will tell you about how to create an account if it's your first time, if your organization doesn't have an account already. If you've been here before and you cannot remember your password, enter your email address and then click on this forgot your password down here, and it will send you a reset link. We cannot change your password, and we cannot see your password. So if you ask us how to get in, we're going to direct you to that link right there. So if you are unsure if your organization has an account with us, please reach out and ask us, and don't just create another account. That is going to slow down our ability to process any grant information that you give to us. So we appreciate if you just reach out to us. We're happy to look it up and let you know, and get you an account, a username signed up under that account. This is not one of those deals where you're going to be setting up on a thing and then just handing your login information to everyone in the organization. You can have multiple people in your organization that have access to your account. And I'm going to show you why that might be a benefit here in just a minute. But yeah, it's very easy for me to add you as or add a new employee as a contact or a new board member. So just let me know. I'm happy to help with that.
Hey, Carol, real quick, I had a question if I can interrupt you. You're probably going to cover this, but once you get logged in, could you show what it looks like from the applicant side and how they can access the LOI?
Yeah, that's what I'm about to do. I'm about
That's
to
what I
log in.
figured.
I'm going to log in as the applicant right now. So this is not my standard administrator password or login. This is my personal one that I made up so I can walk you guys through some stuff. So when you log into our system, you're going to have a dashboard that looks like this. If you have any grants that haven't been closed out yet, that like there's still a grant report pending or a grant agreement pending, any of that, it'll show on this initial dashboard right here. I don't currently have anything there, but that's where it would be if I did. If I needed to submit a grant report, it would still be here. Some people, you're going to log in, you're going to see maybe multiple grant reports that need to be submitted, because you might have had an annual grant cycle grant, and a mini grant, and a white family grant, and they'll all be right here if you haven't finished your work on that grant. This tab here will show you any historical requests that you have made through the system. I use this for testing a lot, so you're going to see a whole lot of stuff down here. But it's all of the requests, whether they've been denied, abandoned, approved, whatever, will be under historical requests. And these are the historical requests that I personally have written the grants for. If you have multiple grant writers in your organization and you want to see what they have written, total history, if you go up here to organization history, you can see all of the different things that your organization has done through the system, which we have had in place since late 2018, I believe. And you can also see who the contacts are in your organization. My organization is called Carol's Docs Impact, and you'll see that I have a VP of Finance and Operations. She has to be a CPA because we are that fancy in my Docs Impact, and then the PAC leader. And this is the primary person. The primary person needs to be wherever your buck stops in your organization. They may never actually write a grant, depending on how big your organization is. but that needs to be who the primary person is. And when you set up a new account, if you've never had an account with us before, which I'm not going to walk through that because most of you at this point have one, one of the questions that you have to complete is who is the primary contact of your organization. And then you also complete your contact information. Sometimes it's one and the same, sometimes it's not. Okay, so once we're here, this is our this is the dashboard you will always see. If you have any kind of information on here that does not look correct, if your email's changed, if your phone number is changed, you know, your primary contact, any of that, please just drop us an email and let us know so we can get that changed for you. We try to keep that as accurate as we can, and this system actually talks to our financial system. So if we have the right address on file here, you're a lot more likely to get your check on time. So good to know that. All right, so once you are here, I wonder why. Okay, this is going to say Community Foundation of Hancock County when you log in, though. I must not have cleared out my cache on this browser. Anyway, but you're going to go to the apply page, and here you are. This will have all of the current grants that we have open that you don't need a special code for. They'll be right here. So right at the moment, that is just the 2023 annual grant cycle. If there's overlap between grant cycles, then you'll have multiple ones on here. So you just find the one that you want to know about and you're going to hit the apply button. But this has all of the information you need to know about this grant cycle here on this page. So before you even start an application, you can kind of decide if this is for you or if it's not for you. There's also some tips down here of ways to use the system that, you know, will speed up your time. So once you decided, yes, this is the one I want to apply for, you're going to hit apply. And this is where the LOI is. At the moment, this is the only form that is open for this grant cycle. You won't have an option to do anything except complete an LOI. And these are the questions that Katie discussed in her presentation. As you can see, it's pretty short.
Yeah, so you could scroll down just a little bit for me. How I mentioned the anticipated funding required. So there are those two options there. You've got that text box if you know the exact amount, or you can select one of these ranges if you just have an idea but don't have an actual project budget yet. So we just need you to complete one of those, but not both.
If you are one of those people that you really need to see things on paper, or if you need to share it on paper with somebody who is that way, you can always click on this question list. It is going to open a PDF of this that is going to have these questions where you can print them out and ruminate over them, share them with whomever, if you need to share them in person. However, if you get to the point where you're down here and I guess it's not true in the LOI, but in the application, you will be required to have whoever the leader is, whether that's your board president, your CEO, depending on your structure, will have to sign off on your application. And the one of the ways that I encourage you to use, and it's also a good way to get financial numbers from somebody in your organization, is you just click on this collaborate button up here. And you can invite anyone to this process, this LOI, this application particularly. If you need somebody to upload some financial documents for you, instead of emailing them and have them email into you and you going in and uploading them, you can just send this to them and ask them to upload those documents. You control whether they can edit it or whether they can submit it. If you have it on this choice where it just says can edit, they can type in the text boxes, they can upload files, but they can't hit submit. So if you want to make sure that you lay eyes on it again after those things are done, just leave it on the can edit as permissions. And you can just invite that person and they will get a link sent to them in the email. They'll click on it. It'll take them right here and they can add that information. I know that a lot of organizations, you don't have all the pieces to the puzzle right in front of you all the time. So, and if you have any questions about how to use that, let me know. I do have a request in with our software company to have a link put on here to the tutorial that tells you step by step how to use that feature, but it's pretty much just as simple as what I just showed you. But that link may appear before you start your LOI. Let's see. Are there questions? Meanwhile, I'm gonna make sure I haven't.
I'm on mute. There have been a few in the chat that I've been able to answer, but.
Okay. Yeah, and I do want to reiterate, if you don't know, if you're new to your organization, you don't know if they already have an account, please ask us. It really does confuse matters if you set up another one and we have to go back and merge everything together. Oh, I did want to show you. So anytime you kind of get lost, especially if you're in here, you're filling out a grant report and then you've got another one, or you want to do an LOI and you're kind of lost. Anytime you hit this home button up here, it's going to take you back to your dashboard. And if you have started an application, by meaning if you have typed anything in one of the blanks on an LOI or on an application, it's going to show up in draft form right here. The way the system works, anytime you begin typing in a blank, if I type some text in here, and you can see right here, this little thinking circle, it's thinking about that and processing that. So if I go down to my next one, it's lit up. It is now auto-saved what I just typed in this last thing. So now if I go back to my dashboard, I have a draft here because I typed something in there. It automatically updates every time you change question boxes.
Oh, okay. So Carol, there's no need for them to click a save button or anything?
You don't have to. If you are paranoid and you want to make sure, not that I know anyone like that, but you can go down here and hit save LOI and it does the same thing. And it will remind you, okay, you saved this, but you still need to answer these questions. So that's that. But yes, it does auto save every time you go to the next field by hitting tab or by clicking into the next field or whatever. It also does it on a certain, I think it's like every 30 seconds or something like that. So if you get up and walk away and you come back and your computer is shut down, you don't need to worry about that you've lost everything. It will be there.
Okay, and then the submit button is what needs to be what you'll need to click to actually send it to us. And once you do that, really you're not able to go in and edit it any longer. So once you click submit, yeah.
So once you've hit submit, first of all, it's not going to let you submit if you have unanswered questions that are required. And it'll tell you, you've got to go back and answer these. But if you hit submit otherwise and it takes it, and you realize later, oh, daggone it, there's this other document I want to upload, or I need to change that number, whatever. If you just let us know, we can revert that back to draft as long as it's before the deadline. Once it's hit the deadline, you're SOL. But if you want to revert it back, because before the deadline, we can do that for you, and you can add or edit whatever you need to. But anytime you hit that little home thing, it's going to take you back to your dashboard. And if you are trying to figure out if it sent an email out on behalf of or whatever, if you go to that contact email history, it's going to show you all the emails that have been sent to you from the system or sent to someone else on behalf of you in the system. And the same thing with the organization history. You can go in and check. I may have lied. I think you have to go all the way into the request. Oh, I don't have any. So if you go into a request and it was somebody else that completed it, you can look at their email history as well.
And
I
an
don't know
important
why
note
you would
there
need
as far as, oh, sorry, I was just gonna jump in on the email, Carol, so emails through this online system are the primary way that we communicate about grants. And I don't know the exact, email address that it comes from, but we wanna make sure you whitelist that.
Administrator@grantinterface.com. And when you initially add yourself as a contact, you tell me that you needed to be added as a contact. I sent you out an email about how to get in the system. And one of the things it says is be sure that this email, that you're getting emails from us. So it's always administrator@grantinterface.com, and that address needs to be whitelisted in your browser or in your email system if it's not web-based. Let's see, let me look at my notes. What else do we have? Okay. What other questions do we have about the system itself that I could answer? You can come off mute and talk if you don't want to say.
Chat is empty as of now. Okay, well, if anybody thinks of anything, we'll be following up with email and a copy of this recording and the PowerPoint so that you'll have that. But if anything comes up in the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. And we're here to help. Thanks everybody for joining us today. We appreciate it, and hopefully be seeing some of you in person soon. And
thank you so much.
take care, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
Bye.
Carol.
Thanks, ladies.
Bye.